bar Choma bar Chasa. Melamed, we are now doing Masechtet Shabbat, Pechet Amar Aleph, 88a. The pasuk says the following: They stood, the Jewish people, as you know, stood at the bottom of the mountain. Yosef, are you able to hear me? Let me see if Yosef is able to hear me. They stood in the bottom of the mountain. So the pasuk says, "Amrav Dimi bar Choma bar Chasa Melame Shekafa Kodesh Baruch Hu is a hakigigit." Hashem placed the mountain upon them, like putting a barrel upon if you like a barrel on top of the Jewish people. And what did Hashem meaning to say? Okay, very good. So Tosfos asked the question. They already said Nasa v'Nishma. The Jewish people already said Nasa before they said Nishma. They said Nasa v'Nishma. We're ready to follow the Torah and the mitzvot. And yet Hashem, after they said Nasa v'Nishma, Hashem takes the mountain and he covers the people with the mountain, so to speak, as if it was covered with a barrel. And you imagine you put yourself inside a barrel, cover yourself with a barrel, and just like a barrel, that could, if you put something underneath the barrel and you put the barrel on top of it, it covers it on all sides. So too, the Jewish people were covered on all sides, so to speak, with this mountain. And the question is, why did Hashem need to? And what did Hashem say? Hashem says, if you accept the Torah, fine. And if you don't accept the Torah, the pasuk says, Torah. If you accept the Torah, mutav. The Gemara, Hashem says, there you will be your burial. It meaning to say, literally, it would sound like the pasuk is saying that the Jewish people you will die if you don't accept the Torah. Right now, the Jewish people will die. Good morning, Dr. Navid. Are you able to hear me?
Boker Tov, Rabbi. Yes.
We're doing the Gemara in Shabbat that deals with Matan Torah, that deals with the giving of the Torah now. How do you like that? So we just had the famous Gemara. We just said the Gemara that Hashem at the Har Sinai, Hashem takes the mountain, places the mountain over the Jewish people, and he says to the Jewish people, if you accept the Torah, fine, and if not, this will be your. There you will be buried. You'll be. Meaning I'll like drop the mountain over you, and the Jewish people will pass away. It's interesting, the language. V'imlav sham tehei kvuraschem. There shall be your burial. It could have just said, here will be your burial. Here will be your burial. What's sham? There will be your burial. Right here. Perhaps the pasuk is alluding to another concept. It's alluding to future generations. To recognize that the acceptance of the Torah is in a certain, that's the life of the Jew. If we don't accept the Torah, sham teik v'raschem, there on that when you don't accept the Torah, that's in a certain sense you're not living, you're not alive. You're like it says, Rishoim, wicked people, when they're alive, they're called dead. So being dead is not only means literally a person being dead. Being dead, there are a lot of people that are alive that are not really alive. And there are people that pass away that are considered alive. Tzaddikim, when they pass away, they're alive. Rav Yosef is alive. Metzion Abba Shaul is alive. Moshe Feinstein is alive. So Chazal say, Sadiqim misatam krum chayim. They're called alive. But if a person does not accept the Torah, not just in this generation, any generation, anyone who doesn't live the life of Torah, that's that type of life is kurashchem. They're living a life of kura, of burial, so to speak. They're not really alive. Down the road, but there in that situation, down the road, future generations, it's alluding to. Especially that here will be a burial. Now, this is the thought that just came to the world now with your help, Mr. Seth. Now, yeah, so 1 second. Let me see more in this Gemara. Now, so the Gemara says, Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Mikan modo rabba lo raita. This concept that the Jewish people was, so to speak, forced into the acceptance of the Torah because they were forced into the acceptance of the Torah. Good morning, Jaime.
Morning.
Jaime, we decided today, being that it's Erev Shavuot, Erev the Chag, to take a look at the Gemara, to focus on the Gemara in Shabbat that discusses this time period when the Jewish people were at Har Sinai. So we moved to Shabbat on 88a in Shabbat. So the
Different
Gemara,
Masechet?
Different Masechet, yeah,
Okay.
Masechet Shabbat.
Okay.
The Gemara said it was a late decision. The Gemara said that at Har Sinai, when the Jewish people were at Sinai, Hashem, so to speak, took the mountain, put it on top of them, and said, "Guys, if you accept the Torah, fine. If you don't accept the Torah, then it's all then it's over." That's what the Gemara says. And then the Gemara says that this is a modo rabba lo raita. This is this situation that, so to speak, the Jewish people were forced into the acceptance of the Torah. It was done, so to speak, with a gun to the head of the Jewish people. The gun was the mountain that Hashem put over their heads. That served as, in a certain sense, an excuse for the Jewish people, if from that generation, for many generations until the time of Purim, if God would come to the Jewish person after 120 and say, "Why didn't you accept? Why didn't you follow the Torah?" They would have an excuse. They could say, the reason why we didn't accept the Torah, why we didn't keep the Torah, is because we were forced into this. You had forced us to take this, to accept the Torah. However, once the story of Purim came, the Jewish people re-accepted the Torah willingly. The story of Purim, Amar Rava, Afal Pikin Hada Kablua. They accepted the Torah willingly, and they had no more excuse once the story of Purim came. The Jewish people in this time of Purim accepted the Torah willingly. They re-accepted the Torah in a total different terms. No longer was it under duress, if that's the right word. No longer were they forced to keep the Torah. They kept it willingly.
Why isn't the Gezerah of Haman and all that the same duress?
Oh, very good. The Gezerah of Haman, yes, very good point. There was a Gezerah of Haman, and as a result, but the fact that there was a Gezerah of Haman to kill the Jewish people doesn't mean that they're actually going to shape up. They shaped up, they did tshuva, point number one, on their own. They repented, they fasted on their own. But number two, more importantly, to answer your question is, once they were saved, they did not, a lot of people, like we have the story of Paro. Once he was saved, he goes back to his old stuff. Once they were saved, the Jewish people said, we are going to accept the Torah willingly. They had a new acceptance of the Torah. The miracle of Purim was such a miracle that and now the question is why is it so? So I think Rabbi David Feinstein explained, because Purim was where they saw how Hashem is involved in every aspect of the Jewish person's life, how Hashem orchestrates everything in the daily lives, in the political life, in everything, how out of all the girls, who becomes the queen? The girl who did not want to become queen, Esther, a Tzedeket, she's placed in the palace. They saw how, how the night the day that Haman wanted to go ahead and come to Achashverosh to kill the Jewish people, that night Achashverosh couldn't sleep, and he goes ahead and he asks for the books, and he reads that he owes something to Mordechai, and he raises Mordechai. They see the hand of Hashem, how Mordechai hears about the plot to kill the king. They saw all the hand of Hashem and everything. The tree is ready for Haman to be hanged on, and so on and so forth. So the Jewish people came to the recognition and appreciation, and they accepted the Torah in a total new, fresh way, b'ratzon, willingly. That's the level that they came to as a result of the holiday of Purim. So Purim is not just representing the holiday of being saved and from annihilation. Also, has another aspect of Purim, that the Jewish people re-accepted the Torah in a willing way, which is the most best way to do something, is to do it with a heart, willingly, desire.
Rabbi, you're saying that they could claim that the fear of Har Sinai made it duress in the first instance?
I say very good, Jaime. What you just alluded to is the way Rabbi Feinstein, I think, also explains the Gemara about the Har Sinai, Mornei Akiva. The question is how to understand the Gemara. The Gemara, you're right, they had an excuse. There was a duress. There was a fear. The question is, what was the fear? The question is, so according to this Gemara, if you take the Gemara, understand the Gemara literally, the fear was that the mountain was on top of their head, and they were surrounded by this mountain. Hashem put this mountain over them, and it said either you accept it or it's over. But Rabbi Feinstein said a different idea. It might not mean literally the mountain, a physical mountain over the Jewish people. It could mean that when Har Sinai was it was something that it was open miracles.
Of course, if Hashem came down to speak to anybody, they would crumble and accept the Torah.
Right. There was fireworks. The mountain was full of fire. They heard Hashem's voice. It was a spectacular event. There was kolo to brakim. There was lightning. There was thunder. There was an extravagant, unbelievable fireworks going on. What was going on in the Mountain Torah when the Torah was given? So of course you're going to accept the Torah there. You didn't really have a choice. How could a person? But then after that spectacular event happened, and then you go back to regular life, and people don't have, although they don't see that spectacular event all the time. So then they're not, the fact that they accepted it in such a case, of course we accept it. Anybody, like you said, will accept it under such conditions.
But Rabbi, I think the Gezerah, the Haman Gezerah is just as scary.
But Haman's Gezerah is scary, but it doesn't mean the fact that Jewish people are faced with annihilation doesn't mean that they're going to actually return to Hashem. It might mean they might look for other efforts. They might look for political efforts or some other plot, figure out how to maybe kill Haman, kill the king, go some other direction. The fact that they responded by doing tshuva, they did a spiritual response.
Okay.
So that seems to be, not every generation it makes the proper spiritual response when they're facing a Hitler or something like that, right? We faced a Hitler. People knew there was a Hitler in the world, but not everybody came back, and not everyone made that spiritual. Morning, Mr. Patesh. But the question, and therefore, therefore, they, in a certain sense, the Jewish people would have an excuse if they would come to court after 120. Why didn't they accept the, your ancestors accepted Torah? Why didn't you follow the Torah? They'll say, hey, my ancestors, they were exposed to this spectacular events. We weren't. But by Purim, when you saw God in the everyday life, so now you also exposed to that. Every Jew is exposed to God in everyday life. And therefore you have no excuse anymore. The person will say, why do you accept the Torah? Why don't you keep the Torah? There's no excuse anymore. But Tosfos asked the question, the Jewish people said, Na'aseh v'nishma. They already said, we are ready to do and we're ready to listen. Why does God have to take the mountain and put it over the Jewish people and tell them, as Mr. Safdie's question, why does God say either you accept the Torah or if not, it's over? They already accepted the Torah. So what is the need for this mountain to be over the Jewish people? You already said yes. So Tosfos,
it was for the oral Torah.
Very good. So Dr. Navid,
it was for the oral Torah. They said, we accept your words from the Torah. It's coming from you, Hashem. We accept it, but now we have to listen to every generation of rabbis who are going to add to the Torah. We don't know about that. That's what I'm
very, very good. That is one answer to the question what Dr. Navid said, that they accepted they already accepted the written law, whatever but the oral law, whatever laws that will be, that they didn't, that's what they needed to be told that, you have to accept this. That's why Hashem put the mountain over them. That is one approach, but Tosfos says a different approach. Tosfos says there was a concern that maybe when they would see the big fire, then the neshama went out at Har Sinai, maybe they would say it's too much for us. We want out. This is too heavy for us. It's too, it says that the Jewish people, after they heard from Hashem, that they started hearing the 10th commandment. They said it's too much. We're afraid. We're scared. They were just like awe-stricken, so to speak. And therefore, maybe in order that, if in case they would go ahead and they would want to back out, because they're going to see this great fire and they're going to say it's too much for us. Therefore, Hashem goes ahead and takes the mountain over them and says to them, guys, you can't. I'm not giving you the opportunity to back out, because if you back
Rabbi,
out, it's going to be over. Yes. Yes.
Rabbi, it doesn't make sense because, first of all, how would Tosfot know that? Number one. And number two, they already just saw the 10 Makkos, they saw the splitting of the sea, they saw the 10 commandments. Already, when they heard the 10 commandments, everyone died and came back already, right?
Say it again?
The first two.
Right. But when they heard the first two,
when they heard the 10 commandments,
the neshama went out.
They already went through something similar to that. Exactly. So they already been exposed to something similar to that. Why would Tosfot think that? This is the reason why it's too heavy for them.
Yeah, but this is before they heard the 10 commandments. They didn't hear the 10 commandments yet. They're gonna hear the 10 commandments. Because this is before they heard the 10 commandments.
Sorry.
No problem. Now,
thank you for the clarification.
No problem. Now, the Eish Gedolah most probably it might be referring to the fire of the mountain, or there was. I wonder if that's what he refers to, the Eish Gedolah. I mean, Tosfos says the Eish Gedolah that their neshama went out. The neshama had gone out. So that is Tosfos' approach to why did Hashem need to put the mountain over them. Now, the Gemara later on says, now with the Jewish people, the level that they came to the Har Sinai to say Naseh before Nishma is that we're ready to do and we're ready. What does that mean? Naseh means we're ready to roll. We're ready to do. Nishma means we're ready to hear. Usually, many people in life, they first say, you tell me what you want me to do, and then I'll see if I want to do it or not. But the Jewish people came to the level of such faith in God that they said, we're ready to do. Just tell us what I need to do, right? Like a child says to a parent calls a child, I have something for you to do. So there's two types of children. One type of child says, tell me what you want to do, I'm ready to do it. Just tell me what you need to do, I'm ready to do it. Then the other child says, what do you want me to do? Yes, and then the child says, maybe this I will do, this I won't. But the idea is to have such total confidence in Hashem, whatever Hashem wants us to do, is that we say we're ready to do anything, whatever you want. But you just have to tell us. That was the Jewish people. In a certain sense, when we put on tefillin in the morning, I think we could think about that concept. First, we put tefillin on our hand, and then we put on our head. Our hand represents action, Naaseh. The head represents nishma, to hear, to think. We don't put on the head first, because you could ask the question, it's brought down when you take a shower. There's an idea to give honor to your head first, and the water should go on your head first. It's your head. It might be on top too, but that may be from a practical approach. But some people, but there's a concept, show honor to your head. So why on the hand and then the head? So perhaps when it comes to tefillah, perhaps it's the idea that we need to be that type of Jew. We need to be the Naaseh and Nishma type of Jew. We're living in a time period that there are Jewish people that say, if it makes sense to me, that's the type of, that's when if I'll do it if it makes sense to me. But that's not the Torah approach. The Torah approach is, the proper approach is, it's not about it making sense to you. If since Hashem said it, we need to do it. Hopefully we'll understand it. One day maybe we have to learn it, try to understand it. And if you don't understand it, it's not because there's something wrong with the Torah. It's maybe you haven't been explained properly, whatever it was. So that's the Naaseh v'Nishma. Now Naaseh v'Nishma, the Gemara says, further in the Gemara, Dorosh of Simoy. You have it, Mr. Sam? We'll skip it if you. B'shor she'ekdimu Yisrael Naaseh v'Nishma. When the Jewish people said Naaseh v'Nishma, what did God do? Bo shishim ribu shamalachei sharetz. 600,000 angels came. And each angel tied 2 crowns to the Jewish person. And Tosfos says it doesn't mean literally crowns. It means crown. It doesn't mean a physical crown. Crowns of light, so to speak. And 1 crown of light represents the Naaseh, and 1 crown of light represents the Nishma. And when the Jewish people sinned, Kiva Shechot Yisrael, the Jewish people sinned, Yardu Meya ve'esem ribuch malach havola. 1.2 million angels came down. And what did they do? They parkum. And they went ahead and they took off those crowns from the Jewish people. They lost their crowns of glory, of beautiful light on their head. And who got those crowns? Who has the light? And Moshe got all that light of the Jewish people. That's why it says Moshe's face was shining, the light of Moshe, because he got all the crowns, he got all that light of the Jewish community.
Wow.
That's what Moshe's like. Now you can just imagine Moshe's light, and the pasuk says the Gemara says in the future Hashem is going to return it to us. We're going to get that special light back on these crowns of glory, of light, the spiritual crowns. We're going to get that back in the future, in the time of Mashiach, and the time when the Jewish people are redeemed. It says we're going to have Al Rosham is going to be back in our head, so to speak. We're going to have a special light. There's going to be obviously a very big difference in the Jewish community and the non-Jewish world. the time of when we redeem, we're going to have a special light. Not only is, now obviously it's not going to be the same level that Moshe had, because Moshe had all the lights of the Jewish people, but every Jew is going to have that light back, those two lights back. And the idea, I think the Beis Halevi, I think, explains in his introduction, why should you get 2 crowns of light for saying Nasa Venisha? Saying if I say, because I said the words morning, I'm wrong. I said Nasa, we will do and we will listen. So he explains, because why 2 crowns for that beautiful statement? He says because it represents these 2 concepts that the Jewish people were talking about. One is the acceptance of the mitzvot, and one represents the mitzvah of Torah study, independent of the fulfillment of the mitzvot. What does that mean? A man has an obligation to study Torah, whether that study of Torah will bring him to performance of a specific mitzvah or not. I'm not a Kohen. I have an obligation to learn the laws of Kahuna. I need to learn the laws that pertain to Kohanim. Why? Because it's a mitzvah to learn Torah. Anything that's Torah, whether it has to do with me, my performance of my mitzvot or not, I have to learn about it. I have to learn the laws about the Kohen Gadol, what the Kohen Gadol has to do on Yom Kippur. What does that have to do with me? I'm not the Kohen Gadol. I'm not going to be working in the Beit HaMikdash. So, but as a Jew, we have a mitzvah. Every man has a mitzvah to learn Torah. Whether you know it, you have a mitzvah to learn it again. But then there's another mitzvah called performance of mitzvah. So Naseh, when the Jewish people said the word Naseh, we will do, is accepting upon themselves the concept of mitzvah. We are ready to do all the mitzvah. And then after they said the Naseh, the Nishma represents, we're accepting upon ourselves the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, of learning Torah, even if it's not going to lead to a particular mitzvah, for the sake of learning Torah. And he explains that's the difference between a woman and a man in their responsibility of the study of Torah. The woman technically is not given the mitzvah of studying Torah for the sake of the learning of Torah itself. That's not her responsibility. She needs to learn Torah. Anything in Torah that has to do with her performance of mitzvot, she needs to learn. Women are obligated in the laws of Shabbat. Every law of Shabbat that applies to a man applies to a woman, right? So she needs to learn the Hilchot Shabbat in order for her to perform the mitzvah of Shabbat. She's not given the mitzvah of learning Shabbat for itself, meaning the woman does not need to learn the Gemara Shabbat. She doesn't need to learn the Gemara Shabbat. She needs to learn the laws of Shabbat. That's the bottom line law. She needs to know what the laws of Shabbat is. A man needs to learn the Gemara Shabbat. Good morning. He needs to learn for the sake of learning. Even that's the difference between a man and his responsibility in Torah study, because his Torah study is done in 2 ways. You're supposed to learn with the mindset in order that it should bring you to do mitzvot, but you're also supposed to learn independent of that, whether it's going to bring you to mitzvot or not. You have a mitzvah to learn. So that's the responsibility of the man regarding the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. And the Rambam says, because the woman don't have this obligation to learn Torah for itself, they don't have the mitzvah to teach the son Torah. The man who has the obligation to learn Torah himself, you have the obligation to teach your son Torah. But we know that at the end of the day, in order for at Har Sinai, what did Hashem say? We got to speak to the women first. Kol tomah lebeit Yaakov v'sagid lebnei Yisrael. When it came to the concept of Matan Torah, where the men were there, women are there, Hashem, you have to first talk to the women and then talk to the men. Because if you get the women on board first, Then you'll get the men, right, Mr. Vitesh? They're the bosses, right? They were given the honor to be spoken to first. Because we need them on board. We need their encouragement. We need the encouragement of the women to help make sure, like the women to make sure that the men will do what they need to do in life. And the Gemara says that the women have a very big merit in the study of the Torah of the husbands and the study of the Torah of their children, that's going to serve for them as a great merit for them in the next world. Have Tchiyat HaMeitim, that they're going to also come back. And there's a concept, because one of the great things that the women do is they bring their children to the yeshiva, they get them up, they wait for the husbands to come home from their learning. These are some of the things that the women do, which make which is so helpful. The idea of the husband and the wife working together, each one having their role. Women are supposed to say, the Shulchan Aruch say Birkat HaTorah in the morning, right? The bracha of Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam Asher Kiddushon Mitzvotav V'Tzivanu Al Divrei Torah. That bracha V'Arevna, right? And Asher Baruch Abana Mikol Amim. The Shulchan Aruch says women say that bracha. And also, everyone has to remember, women need to pray every day. The question is how much they need to pray every day is a different question. Women, the Mishnah says in Brachot, Noshim Chayavot B'Tfilah. Women are obligated to pray. Everybody's wife, everyone's mother, everyone's sister is obligated to pray. But there's at least, good morning, you have to make sure at least the bare minimum. Now, the question, Rabbi, what's called the bare minimum? The bare minimum is, I would say, let them say, if they say Birkat HaTorah, might be the bare minimum, because there is a prayer of V'Harevna Hashem Elokeinu. They ask you for something there. If they say Birkat HaShachar, encourage your wife to say Birkat HaShachar. Get her a nice siddur, get her something nice with the brachot of the morning that women should say, and especially that last bracha, Maveh Sheina Me'enai. I don't know that everybody's wife or mother or sister is ready to do the Amidah, to say the Amidah also, but at least say something. They need to say something 7 days a week. I even heard from a big rabbi, which I don't think is common opinion, but I'm going to share it anyways. I'm not afraid to say it. Is the saying the Moda Ani. A woman saying every day, Moda Ani lefanecha melech v'kayam she'achzarta bi nishmati b'chemla rabbi emunatecha. That fulfills that mitzvah. I'm not saying I don't think that's accepted by many, but you know what? There is such an opinion from a great rabbi that I heard it from. So I will, but you need to make sure. Now, some women, okay, Shabbat, Yom Tov, that's a mistake. It's not just Shabbat. The mitzvah is 7 days a week to say something. So that's something I think we need to realize. We have to make sure that women are obligated to say Birkat HaMazon. The question is it a biblical obligation? Biblical obligation, Birkat HaMazon. They're obligated to say Birkat HaMazon. And we should encourage that. They play a great role. I want to wish everyone a great day. Chag Sameach, a beautiful Shabbat. And we'll be back Tuesday morning.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. All the best to everybody. Don't forget.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Great day, everybody. Make sure you enjoy the mitzvah Simcha Regel. Be very happy over the Regel. Very important. Make sure you make your wife happy, family happy, your kids happy. Get some candies for the kids, for the grandchildren. Buy something nice for your wife, a piece of jewelry or a piece of clothing. So if she bought it already, it's fine also. If you use your credit card, you're good.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yourself too. All the best, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.